Hey guys, what is going on? Welcome back to the channel as we continue talking about 80s horror films. And today we're going to talk about a film, again, from 1980 starring one Charlton Heston. Yeah, Charlton Heston in a horror film. And this film is called The Awakening. Now, I will say, guys, I'm going to have to probably get into some little spoiler territory. So if you want to go check out this film, you can rent it on Amazon Prime. I was able to find it on YouTube. Great looking quality on YouTube. And stop the video, then come back, go watch the film, and come on back and finish the review because there's different endings that I want to talk about with this film, depending on if you watch the UK version or US version. So it might be a little bit of a spoiler territory when it comes to that. Now, speaking of the endings to this film, Scream Factory slash Shout Factory. I'm not sure what part of what label they put it under, whether Shout Factory put it under the screen. I'm assuming they put it under the Scream Factory label, but they have the US release, the US ending on that release. Imprint has the UK ending on their release. So if you really want to have the definitive version, the conclusive version of this film with that, with an ending, you're going to have both of those Blu-ray releases. Now, this film starts off almost, it kind of feels like The Exorcist. Really, oddly enough, it feels like The Exorcist. Now, of course, but this is taking place in Egypt with this dig, and they're looking for this like priestess. Her name was Kara, and she's a bad lady because they can't find all records of her, like where this tomb might be located is just has been just pushed away and just gone. It's just like boom, it's history. Like nobody wants to know where this tomb is because they don't want her coming back. But Charlton Heston, he plays a very almost like a Planet of the Apes type character in this film. How he, how he acted in that film. There's like some of his reactions, kind of like okay, he's kind of like bringing that character back. But his character. He's not. He's a bit of a prick. I will say it, guys. He really is because he cares more about this dig. I mean, he's on this in Egypt at this dig site with his wife is with him, and she's about to have a baby who's about 2 months away. And he cares more about being there looking for this tomb than he does taking care of his wife. Now, his fellow colleague who's working with him trying to find the tomb, you can see there's something there. There's some kind of like romance between those two that's alluded to. And once he finds the tomb, things start to go a little bit haywire. His wife, all of a sudden, she's miles away, where they're staying, she starts to go into labor, like premature labor, because the baby's not ready to come yet. But Heston, even when he finds his wife and gets her to the hospital, and the doctor says, she needs to rest. There's really nothing I could do for her right now. He decides he'd rather be at that dig site. And of course, once he finds the tomb and finds the sarcophagus with the priestess's body inside, there's a connection. Something is going on. Connection between that tomb and his baby that is about to be born. And of course, that causes problems with him and his wife. We flash forward 18 years later, and his daughter Margaret, played by Stephanie Zimbalist, she has never met her father. The mother kind of like left Heston behind and just raised the daughter on her own. And they've there's the contact has been basically him sending her presents for her birthday and things like that. But he finally sees her in person. She comes to England to visit Heston, and but you can see there's something going on. Like she's at times she's herself, and at other times she's almost like something is taking over her body. There are some decent kills. I wouldn't say this is like an overly gory film because it's definitely not. It definitely has some decent kills. Definitely has some blood. But I will say at an hour and 40 minutes, some parts seem a little slow. Some parts seem to move along, at a steady pace. There are some scenes though, I will say, that seem like they're cut. Like things seem like they're like patched together. Like you'll be at one, like there's one particular scene. Again, guys, we're getting into some spoilers. There's one particular scene when Heston takes Zimbalist takes his daughter Margaret back to show her where this tomb of this priestess was. And you see them like looking out into the distance in Egypt. And all of a sudden, it kind of like cuts to them in the tomb, and she just starts acting really, really weird. And I'm like, wait a minute, they were just standing outside. Now they're here, and so it just seems like this thing was definitely cut up basically in the editing room, and maybe not in the best way. It's overall not a bad film at all, not one bit. But I will say that there are a couple different parts of the film that just seem a little bit like off, like they just weren't cut properly and patched together to make this film. But as far as a whole, it's not a bad film at all. And like I said, Charlton Heston is he's not a very likable character in this film. He is obsessed, completely obsessed with this sarcophagus, this mummy, this priestess. That's all he cares about. Doesn't care. Family is like secondary to him. And as far as when we get to the end of the film, the US release, and this is going to be real spoilers, guys. So now if you've gotten this far in the video, you're definitely going to want to stop it. You're going to want to watch the film for yourself. But the US release, it's not the happiest of endings. It's really not. When Heston kind of like finally comes to his senses and sees what is going on and wants to try to save his daughter, because I mean, let's face it, at this point, guys, you already kind of know the priestess is trying to be reincarnated into the body of his daughter. It's been happening since she was a baby, and now it's continuing now, coming like finally like really coming to fruition. And it doesn't have the happiest ending. I will say that it does not have a happy ending for with the US release. But from what I've heard, the UK release has a happier ending, a more decisive ending to this film, and gives it like a conclusion. Whereas like the US release is kind of like, it's not the happiest ending. It's a little ambiguous at times, but that one has a more conclusive ending. So I would have really liked to have seen the UK version, but guys, I went through I searched YouTube. I could not find any kind, even little like little snippets of even the ending to the UK version. Could not find it at all. And even when I Googled it and tried to get information, it's not like there's some information, but all it says is there's a happier ending and it's more conclusive. And that's all it really says. So it's not easy unless you have the imprint version. It's hard to kind of come across the UK ending to this film. So I'm gonna just like right now, I'm just like basing this review on that US cut of the film. But even with that ending for the US version, I think it's still a pretty solid film. Just don't go into it expecting Charlton Heston to be like, this big time like hero type guy in the film, because he's not. Absolutely not. He plays it down at times. Other times he seems like he's channeling Planet of the Apes. And but overall, I say Stephanie Zimbalist as Margaret, as the daughter, she is the shining light as far as acting in this film. She is really, really good. She's able to channel when she's like just herself, or like this, just starts getting taken over. She really can. She's able to go between both versions of herself and do a really, really good, seamless job of doing that. So I think it's definitely worth checking out, guys. It's definitely one of those 80s films that I knew nothing about. And even by the name of it, you wouldn't think that it's going to be this type of film. But I was surprised. It was good. I wouldn't say it was amazing and fantastic, but I think it was good, and I think it's definitely worth checking out. Especially if you're into films about, mummies and Egypt and all that, I think it's definitely worth a view. So guys, like, subscribe, and comment if you get the chance, and I'll catch you in another episode. Take care.